Let me get into the presentation straight away. And if there are any feedbacks that you would like to share, I would like to hear from you after the session. And if there are any audio or visual defects that is being noticed during the session, please intimate me right now. And I'm not able to see my own screen, and I'll be able to see only the project presentation right now. So thank you. So my topic for today is creating ethical AI products, which is going to be a practical approach that we are going to harness into our environment. We know different types of AI products is getting developed over a period of time, and there is an innovation cycle which is involved in creating AI products. So our agenda for today is going to be to understand what is AI ethics, what are the different key themes that is involved in building AI ethics, and how do we use that to build an AI product on a whole? What is the AI innovation cycle? How does the innovation hype cycle is going to help us out in understanding our product strategy? How is the source or the data source is helping us out in creating an AI product, and what are the different other segments which is involved in creating an AI product? How is the framework is structured in creating an AI product? How beautifully we could have a framework which is based on AI ethics that we could implement in our uh, development phase as well as during each phase of our AI product building. What are the different harms and opportunities that is involved for any of the AI based product, which is going to be an automated decision making uh, approach when it is used in building an AI product? What are the ethical considerations that we are going to consider while having this automated decision making approach being used for building an AI product? How the big data as well as different other information that is being assimilated is used in building an AI system? What do you mean by a human in loop system, and how it is going to impact in creating an AI product ethically? And we will have a small use case based approach, and we will also consider what is the ethical consideration that we have for building an AI product. Okay, so are we good? Are we good? Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. So I'll just quickly jump on into my next slide, which helps us to understand an AI system, which is a powerful system, is having an impact of creating a technical and social gap, a wide gap, which is going to be which fulfills the gap that has socially and technically aligned system or misaligned system. What will be an AI product is giving us in return to the society, as well as what is the economical impact that it is going to create, and how does the regulation and framework is helping us out in creating an AI governance? How does an AI research is currently handled? Do we have some ethical considerations while having an AI research into consideration? What is the on the whole, what is the AI ecosystem is built upon? What are the different risks and opportunities that is involved in creating an overall AI ecosystem? So, as we understand, the power of AI or the innovation is not limited to any specific uh, field or any specific industry as of now, or the domain that it is being assigned with. It has, or the potential is extracted in many ways by using formalized methods, tools, and techniques, and the ways that we use for building an AI product on a whole. This is also considered by having a consideration on time, which means we have a time period for which we develop an AI product. This relatively or directly, it doesn't, it is not relatively, it directly impacts many other factors like uh, competitiveness between the different stakeholders. And we are going to also consider the timeline that we consider for building an AI product. What are the specific AI ethics and safety concerns? Do we really need to have any specific consideration when we try to build an AI product? Do we have any technical and social impact when we create initially an AI system, and when we try to make it as an AI product? How are we going to market it with the economical value that it holds? How are we going to create trust to the people, or how are we going to emphasize or market the product into the environment so that it has or it creates value to the society, and how the product is getting aligned with the regulations and framework. As currently we do not have any specific regulation and framework or any specific worldwide accepted or any one specific worldwide accepted regulation and frameworks, there are multiple players who are involved in all of these considerations. We are going to see how currently in the innovation hype cycle, how we are going to create one AI product. As we see this, um, okay, yeah, as we see this playbook, human AI playbook, which is being the center of the circle, which means how an AI system or an AI product is being developed. What are the design or from the starting from the data assimilation part, from the data processing or the analysis part, then getting into the model building part, as well as creating or deploying the model that we built. What is the testing phase? How is the validation considered? So this human AI interaction, how far is the human interaction is involved in creating an AI product? What is the level of human and AI interaction in creating a product which is based on human computer interaction based product? How is the environment is considered? Do we really have a testing environment, or what are the implications that is considered while creating this human AI playbook, or the testing phase of having this human AI playbook? The word that I meant mentioning as human AI playbook is that we consider humans as well as an AI not being only the technology or only as a product on a whole as an ecosystem. How do we test it out? Say for example, we have different AI products, specifically speaking an autonomous vehicle, specifically speaking an digital product, especially speaking like Netflix, which uses recommender system. What is the kind of interaction that humans have, and what is the kind of AI layer that is being built upon, and how the environment is being used for it, and what is the policy and governance? Each of the data that is being took from the provider, and each of the way that the data is being flown, and how the data is being used. Next, the next phase comes into building a model based on the data that we assimilate. What is the environment that is being used? What are the different tools and techniques that is being used, and what is the policy and governance do we really have in considering in creating an AI product on a whole? On going into basics, understanding AI ethics and safety, which is a publication provided by the Allen Turing Institute, defines AI ethics as values, principles, and techniques that employ widely accepted standards of right and wrong to guide moral conduct in the development and use of AI technologies. This is a definitive way of using what AI ethics means. But what we try to understand is what are the moral practices that is accepted worldwide? How do we use or how do we avoid misuse, harm, abuse, a poor design, or negatively intended consequences of an AI system or an AI product into the environment? To stop, we know many other AI product which has failed in the environment, and there is a recall of that particular AI product, and which has shown a less trust towards the citizens on believing what an AI system is, though it has potential, though it has immense potential to create much more value. So why does these pitfalls occur is because we don't consider AI ethics into consideration when creating an AI system or an AI product or building a governance based on it, since because we are right now in the in the phase of building it. So let's get into the hype cycle for artificial intelligence, which is being released by Gartner. Gartner publishes this plateau of reaching each of the AI technology over a period of time considering what is expected in its in its different phases. So the innovation trigger phase, the hype versus dissolution acceptability is considered in this hype cycle, and we see like machine learning has already reached the trough of dissolution, which means over a period of time for 2 to 5 years we have already reached the trough of dissolution. In case like we have reached a kind of um, what is it, a peak of inflated expectation, and we are trying to enrich the machine learning process by having many different sophisticated technologies and many different sophisticated use cases so that machine learning is still alive. We are, I mean, this is for an example which I wanted to state, like how machine learning is considered right now, so that all of the other technologies of AI could be expect or could be read very much easily from the Gartner's hype cycle. The hype cycle also gives us uh, the plateau of productivity where we haven't reached it yet, which means we are less than 10 years in reaching any of the AI based project. So we do not have any plateau of productivity right now in the artificial intelligence based uh, ecosystem that is being developed. So we are currently innovating in a much faster rate, where we are trying to harness the power of AI by using many different uh, many different uh, considerations that we have in hand, like the big data, the power of big data, and the cloud computing capabilities. Then different other AI capabilities like sophisticated ML systems or DL or any other foundation model which is being used for building an AI model, and how we are trying to use ensemble, for example, ensemble models as well, how we are trying to create innovative products by using all these different approaches in each stage of creating an AI product. Okay, so this particular picture shows us what is the different everyday AI potential use cases or different examples, or how do we use AI on a day-to-day basis? What are the possibilities that it offers? So there are smartphones which we use on a daily basis. Okay. There are smartphones which we use on a daily basis. There are other devices There are other devices like wearable devices that we use. Apart from that, we have a connected home capability. Though we don't use it on a daily, though we don't have it uh, in our environment currently, we do have connected or smart home capability of creating a connected way of handling different smart devices at our home. The way that we use our browsing capability, the browsing or the internet, the way that we try to project the data that we use on a daily basis by using online shopping, or the way that we use the advertising capability that is being provided by the vendors, and how smartly we emphasize using artificial intelligence based system on our day to day usage of creating value by using, or by using different ways of uh, okay, by using different ways of farming and irrigation system, or how do we protect the endangered species, how do we use in our workplace, like the daily usage of AI in our workplace, what are the different uh, manufacturing industries, or the what are the different industries that uses AI in a connected world, as we are currently into the industry 4 era. What is that we contribute to the society, or what we take in return in our day to day applications of using AI, and what are the potential use cases that is being built. So there are different other multiple, or there are different other forums which speaks about uh, possible products as well as possible governance using those AI products currently, which is in the market. Though we do have consideration, or we do have a regulatory mechanism which is missing in the current phase. So this is one of the AI product or the framework that is being used for getting an AI product on an overall. As we all know, we get data from different industries, government and non-governmental sectors. The industry could be private and public sector, which basically speaks about um, different types of industry and domains. You could also include the non-profit based organizations, which is giving you data, and the data which is assimilated, or the data which is collected. What is the privacy or the data flow, the information flow that is considered with the data that is being collected? What is the privacy consideration, and how secure is your data? Based on it, how do we build an algorithm, and the implementation phase of your algorithm is considered. The deployment phase is created with many other consideration, many other external factors, or the tools and techniques that we use in creating the model, and how it is being valued currently. So this particular uh, phase, or this particular block, gives you an understanding of what is the different play, who are the different players in getting the data, and how the data is getting collected, and what will be the different stages of having data into consideration, and what are the algorithmic points that we need to basically understand, what are the algorithmic points that we need to basically understand, uh, or the model checks that we need to understand while creating an AI product. So with the different players involved, we basically have three primary data. One is being text, the second is image, and the sound. We could use a combination of one or two or more of them. We could also use individual data based on the use case or the AI product that we are going to develop. Based on that, how we are going to analyze the particular data. The data project, or the data ethical uh, playbook, is being published by the government of UK to consider the data ethics uh, into play while having or while handling an AI project. It initially speaks about why do you need the AI project to be implemented. What, as a business owner, what would be your outcome in creating a particular AI project? What is the real outcome of the AI project, and how is it going to value the citizens, as well as how is it going to help us out, the complete AI ecosystem on a whole, and what will be the trust that the AI product or the AI project is going to give us in return. So we do have different phases, like analyzing the data, where the data is pre-processed and feature engineering is done based on the features that we select. Then we get into the building stage of building the uh, uh, data that we have into hand using many different ways. There are different algorithms as well as involved, which we could select based on the necessity as well as the capability of the algorithm that it could deliver. Then we measure or we have business KPIs as well as technology KPIs into consideration, because of which is the basis for considering the data till the deployment stage of our AI project. Considering this into our prime focus, we have three primary harm that is of potential, that is of potent, and which creates importance in having uh, the potential harms during each phase of our AI project. When I say each phase of our AI project, from the data collection stage, from the model building stage, as well as in the deployment stage. What will be the minimal harm in collecting the data? So, for example, we have something like represent. Okay, we collect data which from an underrepresented crowd. So, what happens? Will the harm be minimal, medium, or potential? So, this is a single consideration. The second consideration would be the developers are preconceived or biased with the data that they have. Do they really consider the need for different data which is available, or do they really seek other information which is relevant for their model building process? What will be the implication, like the minimal harm, or will it create minimal harm, medium harm, or potential harm? This is during the data collection process. What happens when we develop or build an algorithm based on the data that we have? The model or the algorithm that we build is based on certain hypothesis that we built. Does the hypothesis have transparency in consideration? Which means, does the algorithm is uh, open for everyone to use, or is it an algorithm which reserves right to reveal the inner to reveal the inner neural networks, or to reveal the learning phase of the AI model? Does it reveals, or does it creates a black box kind of approach? If that is the case, how is it going to harm? What is the minimal, medium, and potential harm that it is going to impact? Everything should be considered based on the use case that you develop. Similarly, when you measure the KPI, or when you create KPIs for measurement, it might be a technology based KPI, it might be a business based KPI. When I say technology based KPI, it could be the sufficiency of the data, it could be the source integrity from where you get the data, it could be the timeliness. For example, any real time related data, like how far is the data is considered. Do we consider any historical data for our model building process, or do we do real time processing while we build a model? So what will be the implication? How are we going to level the implication into with these three uh, I mean, with into these three triangles, like minimal, medium, and potential. So what will be our technology perspective consideration in this case? Speaking about the business perspective, did we do a research, or the research validation is conducted properly? Did we do a market validation with the data that we have in hand? So, if it is not done, what will be the risk, or what will be the harm that it is going to harness? It could be minimal, medium, and potential. So, how are you going to level it up? Similarly, we have systems. After building the model, we create an AI system, and after the system is deployed, we create a whole AI product. So, in the AI system, we do collection, designing, tool consideration, an AI tool based approach, and specific compliance, with that could be region specific, that could be product specific, that could be usage specific. So what is the compliance that we consider, and what is the validation that we are going to handle uh, on a whole on this AI system, and how is different ethical approaches how are the AI ethical approach preserved, or uh, made into consideration during each phase of building an AI system. So we know AI ethics key themes are going to be transparency, privacy, accountability, explainability, and fairness. So all this are getting more and more relevant when we see certain kind of bias and discrimination which is considered. It could also be due to denial of individual autonomy and rights, which is getting breached when we use an automated decision process that is based on an AI system or real-time AI system, where the individual could not be um, accountable for any of the injury that is being caused to him or her. And how is the accountability is modeled in your system when you create a use case for it? It should be non-maleficent and beneficent. So it shouldn't harm and it should do good to the end user. This is considered in each phase of creating an AI product in the AI system, like collection phase, design phase, tool phase, compliance phase, and validation phase. And what is the AI safety? Which means we have an AI product already deployed, and we are in uh, right now using the AI product. Does the AI product give you the output that is needed as per the specification of design? Does the AI product provides you a different approach or gives you a bad measurement of which is unexpected or which is not derived, which is not formulated during your use case derivation or during your AI product derivation? What is the assurance that you have in the model that you built? When you give a new set of data which is going to harm the system, is your system robust enough to handle it? Is this considerations are all taken care in your AI product and framework that you move while creating an AI product on a whole? Okay. So are we good enough? Hello. Okay.
Sorry, what was the question? Oh, that's our speaker. Kirthikka, do you plan on rejoining? Sorry, I was just trying to confirm your answer. By no means indicating you should leave. It's going great. I'm loving the idea of accountability in your use cases. And I think that's such an important call out when we're talking about ethical AI products. If you're just able to rejoin to finish up. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. This is one AI. Yeah, sure. Please, can you please let me know the left out minutes for my session?
Yeah, you have 10 minutes left. And if you want to share your screen, it's not being shared right now.
Okay. I'll just quickly share my screen again. So, yeah. This specific
we cannot see your screen yet, so sorry.
You cannot. Okay.
I'll let you know, and then I'll.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
It's not been shared yet.
Yep. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So, okay. This map gives you the ethical implication and human rights based on the principles of AI that is already built upon. So this is okay. This map is a holistic approach from different providers like private sector, public sector, non-profit sector, governmental, and research and development sector, as well as from the civil society. We also have the key themes that is currently considered on an AI ethics space. So privacy, accountability, safety and security, transparency and explainability of the algorithm that we use, fairness and data non-discrimination of the uh, transparency and explainability of the model that we use, fairness and non-discrimination of uh, the complete AI product that is going to project based on the data that we use, and human control of technology, and how far is human controllable, and how AI ethics is getting importance or getting its nerve in building the product, how professionally we are responsible for having a product, what will be the human value promotion, and what is the international human rights that is being considered for building an AI product. So, not this is not only for AI product. This is from Harvard University's Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society. So this is completely for the AI ecosystem and doesn't specifies or doesn't gives any specifics to an AI product or project. So you can have this reference, and you can have a look into the principled AI approach or the map that it is giving you different AI ethical considerations, and these points gives you the range of each of the consideration, like transparency and if I say transparency and explainability. Okay, just so if I say transparency and explainability, what is the coverage of this transparency and explainability by each of these stakeholder, like preparing for the future of AI treats transparency and explainability by what range, from the scale of lower to higher, how far does it considers. That is how this map is formulated and supposed to be read. So this is a great assimilation of all the ethical key themes and different players who are involved in creating AI ethics concept is collectively mentioned. So so when we work for specific company, it will be of great use for us. Though when we try to create an AI product, it is going to give us immense result. So the below table is based on Future for Privacy Forum, which considers the EU GDPR into consideration, where this AI ethics framework is built by the data that is being collected. When the data is collected from an individual, is the individual informed about the collection of the data? If so, what is the consideration of or what is the impact and gains that the individual is informed while collecting the data? And if the data is collected, is the individual informed about the decision making process or how the data flow is achieved in having an automated decision making process? So when the study was completely analyzed, there are different level of risks or harm that is going to be created to an individual as well as to the society. We have, as an individual, we have different opportunities, starting from our education till we have health and care, as well as in different phases of life we do have employment, insurance, and banking related transactions. We use digital gadgets and we have some entertainment in our life, and we do have some physical assets, movable and it could be a movable and immovable asset. The data that is being collected from an individual, does it has an impact or does it has a harmful effect in all these opportunities? How does this harm or the level of impact is going to harness into the society if the data that is being collected is collected anonymously or uninformed or without the knowledge of the user or the provider. So, in this case, the study was conducted in all these different fields of opportunities, and there was a loss of uh, different segments is categorized. Like, how would, when a data is collected or a data is given as, or data is being sold by large firms, where one research paper easily says like larger firms are the source of data which is being sold easily into the environment. So if such data is collected without the consent of the user, what will be the opportunity of him in getting a proper education? He or she will have a behavioral manipulation easily without knowing or without having a knowledge that this data is being lost. This, in turn, will have a differential access to the education system on the society. The possible mitigation strategy for this particular use case could be democratizing data should not be done, and there should be an exclusion of personally identifiable information. When we see this, what is the ethical concern that we have? Bias and privacy is a major concern. We would not also have fairness in the way that we deal data. This is one opportunity which we consider currently. There are many, sorry, there are sorry, there are many other opportunities. Sorry, there are many other opportunities which is directly going to impact an individual if the data is being collected without the concern of the user. Because large firms collect data and they do not have a structured way of handling, and they do not provide privacy and security to the data that they collect, which will have a long term impact to the individual on different opportunities that he has in front. Sorry.
We're right at 12:15. I wanted to give a couple of minutes in case anyone had any questions, if you're open to taking some questions before the next session starts.
Definitely, I'll be happy to take up questions.
If anyone has any questions that they want to drop in the Q&A or the chat for our speaker, we will have a couple of minutes to go over those right now. I also just want to thank you so much for this presentation. I don't know a lot about AI, but I thought it was really informative and very well presented, that I could follow it and understand the content throughout the whole thing without having that background in it as well. I think my question would be, how do you convince buy-in for building ethical products? I feel like, especially in like the machine learning and AI realm, there's so many exciting things happening that everyone's just going so quickly. And how do you convince that company to take a step back and think about some of the ethical implications of these products that they're building?
Definitely, I would love to answer this question. So, right now we are in the stage of creating new products into new market or new market segment. Considering this as an opportunity for us, we initially have a market research and we validate our market research. There are different techniques, survey methods, face to face interviews, and historical data that we could consider for having an AI product for a specific company. So it could be based on the specific company could align the AI product that we develop. It could be it could also align with the goals of your own AI product. So how you're going to convince them is by the economic returns and by the social and technical gap full and its fulfillment by the way that you collect different data and by the way that you use the data in building a model. So the first approach would be like market validation and give them a presentation of that. And the second would be like giving them economic value for your AI project.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I feel like the answer is almost always if you can tie it into something economic, businesses will take it a little bit more seriously.
Okay. So I was under the consideration like my timing is around 10:45 to 10:30 to 11:15. So that was my timeline which was given to me. So I was little uh, moved by that particular timing. So, okay. So would you like me to share one use case or should I have to stop here?
We still have folks in the session. I do just want to give them all the opportunity to let them know that the next session will start if they want to move on to something else. But I'm happy to sit here and moderate. I have some time, so we can keep going if people are interested in that.
If there are no questions, I'll just wind up.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the session and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking and everyone for joining.
Bye bye.